Yeah,
Hey,
welcome everybody and what's up? Oh, sorry, Mike.
go ahead, Dave. Take it away. We're just excited to get the show started. Go ahead.
So, get the show started, underway. Huge win for the Union. 2-1 win in Cincinnati. It's me, Dave Miller, and Mike Pereira just across me there as we are here to break down what will possibly be a massive 3 points for the Union looking at it in a month's time. Obviously, Mike, initial reactions from the game?
I'm excited, man. As you saw, I just want to get the show started. I want to talk about the Union. I think all of us were expecting a victory well before we knew about the international break, and now we heard about the break. We were kind of nervous. We thought, just get a draw and we'll be fine with it. But the kids, the teenagers, the homegrowns, the guys who are on the bench for most of the season came on and put on a show. And I mean, it's 2-1 at the ending score, but
Yeah.
they were the better team for most of that match, minus a few scary hiccups. But I'm very, very pleased with the win. I think you summed it up perfectly. It's a huge 3 points in a game that you kind of were expecting a draw.
Yeah, I mean exactly. I mean, obviously you come into the game very short-handed. I think the commentators are saying the Union were down 9 players. I think they had the most amount of players out at this moment in time over these fixtures over the weekend to have 9 players out. And then being realistic, I mean, you look at the lineup, you could probably argue that probably 7, 8 of those, probably 6 or 7 of those players are all starters.
Yeah,
And
no, absolutely. Go ahead.
as I always say on the show, it's the MLS and sort of in the North America and South American sort of region that the entire the two continents. It's the hardest thing to do in the two continents is to go on the road and win.
Yep.
And we've alluded to the points of why it's so hard to go on the road and win. But the fact they managed to go to Cincinnati, a team with a new GM, obviously Chris Albright, former Union guy, and they managed to go there with a professional performance. Okay, they had some lucky breaks at points, but they had a professional performance with a lot of young guys in the team, different formation, different shape. But I think it's going to be a huge result, and not just huge in terms of the table, for their confidence going in. You can see that perhaps now the pressure of the Champions League isn't there. They're now being they're playing with more freedom. And again, I think players like Paxton Aronson, Quinn Sullivan, Jackman Glenn allow you to do that because they're fearless. We say it before, we say it again. They're fearless players that aren't afraid to make a mistake in the final third. If they have a shot
Hmm.
and it goes over, they don't care. A bad cross, it doesn't matter. They get the ball in quick. They do the things that perhaps players around them like Bedoya and Shabirko, etc., have struggled with over the last few months in terms of confidence. And you're sort of seeing everyone's sort of starting to rebuild the confidence they had at the start of the year.
Yeah, you saw the Club America match and you thought they had more electricity. They had more of an urgency on the offensive side, and you were hoping that it would translate into the regular MLS season play.
Yeah,
But at the same time, you were worried: are they going to feel deflated? Are they exhausted? Where is this momentum going to go? Especially because after that match against Club America, you were out of the playoff picture,
yeah,
and then within was it 2.5 weeks, you're right in the third spot in the East. You're playing
yeah,
better football. Aside from the Red Bulls game where you could have taken 3 points, you've been playing well and you've been winning.
yeah,
You kind of mentioned the homegrown products tonight. Sullivan did a really great job late in that match to kind of kill some clock. He had 2 runs down the side of the pitch to really just milk as much time as possible. Uh, I thought Paxton was excellent tonight.
yeah. Paxton was
Yes, he
brilliant.
he had the goal, but he looked dangerous. He looked like he
Yeah,
was what we saw from Brendan a bit last season. And McGlynn was fine. I thought he was quiet, but kind of like Harris tonight, he doesn't do a whole lot offensively. Then one minute he puts a beautiful pass to Paxton, and you score a goal. So
yeah.
they all contributed. But how about Matt Freese? He stepped up when we needed him most. What did you think of the young keeper's performance tonight?
I think Matt obviously, in comparison to his other games that he's played this year, was a massive improvement. Some A few very good saves. Obviously, I don't think he could have done much in the goal. That was a really, really nice goal from Madunian. Fair play to him. But again, I think it was brave. He knew when to come off his line. I think
Hmm.
there was that chance in the first half where I think it was Atunga was in on goal, and you sort of thought, "Oh no, here we go." And I think it's Atunga. Let me try. Yeah, Atanga. Sorry, came out and then Freeze. Obviously, he came out of his goal, close to shot down, and again, great save, a very, very good, great save. So I mean, And then obviously the one as well where he put his body on the line after I think it was Acosta managed to get past
Yep,
Harriel, and he
I
managed,
think so too.
goalkeeper could have easily just sort of stood there or refused to come and close the ball down fully. He dove straight into the ball, pulled off the save, put his body on the line. I think that's what you want to see from your goalkeeper. And again, tonight, I know opportunities can be very limited for him, and we don't know how long he will stay with the Union because Andre Blake's got another contract extension. But again,
Yeah,
he's
it's true.
done he's only done himself favors tonight by playing well, and who knows, that could end up getting a decent move to another MLS team or
Well, you kind of touched on based the way he looked tonight in terms of previously. I thought when we seen him bits and pieces earlier this year, he did look a little more timid. I thought he looked more
yeah,
confident tonight. He came off his line a lot quicker.
yeah,
And when you don't have Andre Blake in net, you lose that hero style play from obviously one of the best goalkeepers in the league. But he did more than he's done previously, and he made himself Blake with how he approaches the ball, making himself big when it mattered most, coming up with the clutch save. So I was very pleased with Matt. I think it's probably the best performances I can remember in recent histories. And the Union defense didn't really do him any favors. Matt
no,
Harriel, especially, or Nathan. I'm sorry, Nathan
yeah,
Harriel
yeah,
left him out to dry on two different moments. I mean, I would say Harriel probably had the worst performance of all the homegrowns. I know he had the wonderful assist, but he looked a bit
yeah.
young out there. He looked like he had a couple rookie mistakes.
Oh
Anything in
yeah.
particular you saw from him?
Well, I mean, I think Matt DeGeorge obviously pointed out in one of his tweets. He said like, obviously Harriel looked very exposed at right wing back again. I mean, I know he's
Yeah,
only 20 years old and he's playing. I think it's probably like his third or fourth game in the MLS. So again, he's obviously going to be exposed, and again, he's sort of perhaps playing a bit out of position to what he's used to, playing at right back. I think when the Union went to that four at the back in the second half, you could see how I don't think really much got beyond him. And when he played at right back when he played as a right back as opposed to a wing back slash midfielder, whatever the hell the Union formation was in that first half. But I think he looked so much more comfortable as a right back. And again, I think it's growing pains. I think it needs to be expected. It's got to be expected when it's got to be expected. With a player of that sort of age, when you don't play as much, you're going to get caught out. You're going to get caught underneath the ball sometimes. I think again, it's just that expectation. You got to temper expectations with these younger players.
yeah, and in a formation that they're not particularly used to playing on a weekly basis, things are gonna. And then you have also your Finley back there. You have a lot of moving pieces when he's in there. It's not like Harriel was in there with the rest of the starting 11, who's typically in play. You
Yeah,
have a lot of new faces in there, so it's one of those things where you just wanted them to survive, and they did. And many times you've seen the Union. Well, actually, because Montreal's coming up on the schedule, kind of go back to the Montreal match. We played Montreal. We looked like the better team, the more dangerous team, and we give up the
yeah,
goal in the end of the first half. Tonight, I
yeah,
thought we did fine in the first half, but since then, definitely had the better chances overall. And we just managed to get lucky and lucky and lucky. And finally, our moment came. We took advantage of it.
yeah,
That's always seemed to be the opposite of the Union way of recent teams. That they didn't typically have that fortune go their way. So maybe it's just because we're on this roll, we're on this hot streak right now. We're kind of having the ball bounce our way. But
yeah,
whatever it is, I'll take it. But I kind of mentioned the goal already. What did you think from that goal? It was one of the best goals of the year, in my opinion. It was just so well executed.
yeah.
What did you think of that?
I agree. I think it was. I think just entire build up. Obviously, that pass from Jackman Glenn is probably one of the best passes that anyone has made all season. The fact that not only did he manage to play just a perfect pass and weighted it perfectly, that it just allowed Aronson to get behind the defender and get onto the ball with plenty of space around him to then obviously pull the ball across. Again, I can't speak highly enough of sort of the ability that Jack McLean has. I think he's a natural central midfielder in the way that he can control the game, uh, can control the game. But do you know what I mean? I think again that was just a. Obviously, we'll go on to the Casper finish in a second, but that was just sort of a little snippet of what Jack McGlynn's capable of. And obviously, if Union fans haven't seen, or if you're a bit more of a casual and you haven't seen much of Jack McGlynn before, that's what he can do. That's the sort of, and if you watch his work rate and how much effort he put in tonight, that's what you get on a weekly
Yeah.
basis with him. I think personally, I think he's the most pro ready, and I think he's probably the best out of all the younger players so far in terms of consistency. But then again,
I
for
agree with
Aaronson,
that. Yeah.
so Aaronson was a nice ball across. It was unfortunate there was no one there originally. He took a deflection, but again, he put it in the danger area and he put some fizz on it. He put some air on it. So
Hmm.
put some height on the cross. And again, you put that when you're so close towards the 6 yard box. That's going to cause havoc. A deflection is going to potentially go back towards the actual goal. It could go out to a Union player. And as we saw, it went out to Shabirko, who did brilliantly to bring it down and not panic and just shoot straight away, which you do see a lot of strikers do. Brought it down. He
Yeah.
was calm. He was composed, and great finish. He's absolutely just leathered it, absolutely twatted it into the top corner. The keeper had no chance. But
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say quickly, I think we saw a lot of that from Casper tonight. I don't think that we haven't seen in recent weeks is the calm and the composure that he had on the ball. We saw it quite often. We got the ball
Hmm.
down, and usually he try and pass it. Tonight he got the ball down. He'd beat a couple of players, we'd dribble through a couple of players, and then he'd get rid of the ball as opposed to getting the ball and get rid of it straight away. I don't know if you noticed that.
No, I think he's played really well, and I see people commenting, thanks so much for all the kind words.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys chiming into the show. Um,
Cheers.
I think Casper, when Casper's hot, he's hot, and he has
Yeah.
a confidence to him. You saw it right at the end of the match there. He's going down the pitch, towards the net, and he kind of cuts back, breaks one of the defender's ankles, and you can see he's more comfortable on the ball this
Yeah.
past couple games. And again, it kind of comes back from the Club America match. You saw bits and pieces of him at that match in Chester, and now he's scoring. And if he's not scoring, he's making the pass to get the assist or to
Yeah.
just kind of get the play moving. But Santos can't stay healthy, and we've seen this now from his entire Union career. He'll play was for 3 to 4 weeks and he'll get hurt. And he plays great and then he gets hurt. And Jim Curtin mentioned it in the press conference. Was it two? But during the last match that we saw him, Santos has a bad run of health, especially in close scheduled matches. You thought
Yeah.
maybe because the last time they had played had been a week prior that this wouldn't be the case today, but again, he just can't stay healthy. So now you're missing Burke for X amount of time. You don't know how serious Santos is because he actually asked for a sub
Yeah.
to get taken off. So you're left with Casper, you're left with Sullivan and Davo, who we
Yeah.
don't see ever. So Casper finding his form right now is bigger than we
Huge. Yeah.
realize. It's huge. It's massive because Santos was the the motor behind that offensive push. Um,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna kind of double back real quick to what you said about Jackman Glenn. Tonight we saw him play against someone who Jim Curtin has compared him to in Harris Medunian. That
Yeah.
that great vision, the IQ, and the left foot that can be so dangerous. On the opposite side of that, you have Leon Flock, who offensively is far from the talent that Jack has. How much more do you think we need to see from both teams before maybe Jim introduces McGlynn more on the left side of the field? Do you think that might transition as the playoffs approach, or do you think he's going to stick strictly to Leon?
I think at this point you'll probably stick strictly to Leon because I think obviously again we've seen it throughout the entire season that he likes to stick with the players that's got him to where he's got. So obviously Leon's one of those
Yeah.
players that works hard. I mean, obviously Jack's probably better going forward in the advanced positions. But I think again, I thought
Hmm.
Leon had another good game tonight. I know obviously some of his end product wasn't amazing, but he he does his job. I mean, he does his job. I mean, I think a lot of
Yeah.
people perhaps I think he I don't know, I think he gets a tougher rap on things than a lot of other players do. Because I mean, barring a couple of things, I think Bedoya's end product sometimes is great. Other players' end products isn't great when they put crosses into the box. I sort of feel like he gets dug out a bit because I don't know. Personally, I mean, obviously, I don't think obviously he's not the best attacking player, but I feel like his attacking game gets sort of criticisable, has more of a magnifying glass on it as opposed to other players. Maybe that's because of his age, or perhaps because of how impressive he has been. People are perhaps expecting him to, continue this growth that he's gone on, perhaps at a quicker rate as opposed to other players. Maybe I'm not sure, but I think
That's a
again,
fair point.
thought Leon had the sort of game tonight. He got into good positions attacking wise, even if he didn't perhaps execute it properly. But again, I think got into good. As long as you're getting in the positions, then it's all the chances, the good things will come, as we saw against as we saw last week against Columbus. I mean, okay, the keeper had a bit of a shitter for the goal, but he scored. He got in the right position and he scored. And I think
Yeah,
it's as long as you're getting in those positions, the final end product will eventually come. So yeah, I think
I
Leon.
hope so. I no, no, I hope so. I think you make a good point. The point being with comparing McGlynn to him is that maybe not the entire match. I think Leon will start as long as the formation allows him to start and the players available allows him to start.
Yeah,
Um, but when in terms of the substitutions, I would like to see him moved out of the match maybe in the 70th minute for someone like McGlynn or Davo or whoever else that is more, or Sullivan, who's more talented on the ball. The
yeah,
reason why I mentioned that specifically tonight is when you see Paxton Aronson with the ball, right? He immediately turns up the field to try to push forward. Now, granted, I know these are two different kinds of players. I understand that. But when Leon gets the ball, he immediately looks back. He looks to his fullback or whoever's behind him to then distribute forward. Because when he turns forward, he just kind of stutter steps and doesn't push in either direction, doesn't
yeah,
doesn't make the man miss. And that's why you saw him open a lot of times tonight, because they could just crowd the opposite side of the field and let him be more
yeah,
open. Because once the ball came to him, when they crossed the pitch, they knew that he wasn't going to go down the field. Um,
yeah,
but I think you make a good point as well, is that if he can make the run before he gets the pass, rather than getting the pass further up the field, if he can just make that run and find himself that way, and that's when he's most dangerous offensively. And then he only has to do is cross the ball in. So it's less work that he has to do
yeah,
once he gets the ball. But I think when it comes to defensive pressure, when it comes to recovering after a turnover, Leon Flock's motor is like no one else on the team. I mean,
yeah,
the kid can
absolutely.
just go, go, go.
Yeah.
So I think we're
Well,
just
that's
being nitpicky. I think you're right. Yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
So say that's why I think he should be playing on the six, and on Jose's fit, he should be playing
Yep.
as one of the guys on the outside of the diamond. Because, as you said, Leon, the way you just described Leon is the perfect description as your typical holding number six, ball
Completely
winning
agree.
defensive
Yes.
midfielder. Just get as long as he gets the ball and just keeps it simple, passes it sideways, or win the ball, pass it sideways, retain possession, pass it, get rid of it quickly, or just keep it simple. Whereas
Yep.
we've seen on so many occasions where Jose's the complete opposite. He's quite erratic. He will, and again, this isn't a complete knock on Jose's game because I feel like he
No.
is being misused. I think, but like the way he likes to be spontaneous. He likes to get on the ball. He likes to try and make stuff happen. And I mean, sometimes you don't want that in your six. You want your six to keep things simple, and that's why I think Jose could really excel playing as an eight or on the outside because
Right.
and then you'll see it. He loves when he's playing with his back towards the player and he gets the ball. He loves to try and turn out. He loves to try and go on an amazing run. He likes to try and these
Yep.
fancy passes or big passes. That is why he should be out on the eight, and that's why Leon should be playing at the six. And I
I
mean, yeah,
agree.
we get frustrated because Jose shoots sometimes, but how? I mean, sometimes I mean, at some point, I mean, we see some of the games that Union are playing in, and no one's shooting. They haven't had a shot for 30 minutes. Sometimes you just got to have a go, and I mean, people get critical of Jose because it wastes opportunities, and I agree sometimes maybe it's a bonehead decision, but like he's one of the only
His
players,
weekly 30-yard shot
yeah.
friend.
But like sometimes you have to have a player that has to have the balls to go for it. Because I mean,
That's
we
true.
saw in the past where none of the Union players want to shoot. Like players would get inside the box and they wouldn't shoot; they'd pass it sideways. They go backwards. We saw the Ali Bedoya Ben Simmons moment the other week where he
Mhm.
literally was in front of the goal ready to shoot and he just passed it. And you're sort of like at some point, I don't know. I just think Jose should probably it has to play more further forward, and you have to sit Leon in front of the back four. But again, I guess the Jim's argument is for the fact that he plays Leon out there is essentially that he's sort of like a second left back, but more defensive that allows Kai to be
Well,
Kai when he goes forward.
that's that's the argument, and that's the best. I think that's the main point as to why you see him on that side, because if you put him at the six, you allow him to pass back to Jack and Jake, who are more forward-minded players, and then obviously
Yeah,
you have your right and left back of Wagner and Mbaizo typically, and I thought Elliott tonight in particular was great overall. and we've seen more from Jack recently with his offensive push, both
Yeah,
either with a long ball down the field or just push on the field himself. He saw it tonight. He gets up the field. He finds who was it? Harriel wide open on the
Nathan, yeah,
right, and it leads to the Paxton goal. But I think you're absolutely right. When you have Kai, who is so important to the offensive attack, you need to have someone who can cover him. And if anybody's going to cover him on this team, it's going to be Leon Flock. So
yeah,
it's interesting to see because I think next year in particular, you're going to see more of the six rather than this year because his future is being uncertain with the team. But overall, I mean, I don't want to nitpick him too much. I thought the whole team played well tonight. But one thing I want to talk about is the next goal, and I kind of segued in a bit with Jack. Like, what did you think of the second goal from?
I mean, obviously, I thought again it was another very nice, well worked goal. Perhaps, perhaps the I don't want to say it down, but perhaps the goalkeeper could have potentially done a little better to save it. I mean, obviously, but I mean, looking at it from different angles, it looked like the ball sort of like already crossing the line, even with the goalkeeper saving it. But again, that ball from Harriel was just peach perfect. Like incredible. Like the fact that he managed to put it in the one place that Aronson was able to win it. He put it. Obviously, Aronson did well to actually get in between the defenders, so he wasn't actually marked, so he could run onto the ball if he needed to, and he put it in the one place that if Aronson was going to head the ball, who's going to get it, which was perfect. And I mean, obviously, Alvis Powell's not going to be around with the Union forever. Obviously, it's a
No.
1-year deal, so maybe Harry will just get the nods to be the number 2 right back next year. But again,
Mhm.
it showed just the talent that this academy has and the players that
Oh
Harry do have and
gosh.
who are actually on the outskirts of his team at the moment. You think, okay, maybe he is the heir to the right back throne once if Bizer gets a good offer to go to Europe or if he goes to somewhere else. And the same, obviously, Powell's obviously, as I said, it's not going to be around forever. So I mean, again, it's a good sign. Obviously, Harry also showed some looked inexperienced at times tonight. He did look like a
Yeah,
young,
I agree.
he did look like a 18, 19, 20-year-old who was making his fourth or fifth appearance. But again, I think it will come. It will come, and it's sort of again. I'm glad that he managed to get an assist in the game for himself. I mean, those are the sort of things that these young players are going to hang on now.
Yeah. Now, in terms of the players that we haven't seen in a while, Matt Real made an appearance tonight.
Yeah,
Bueno made an appearance tonight. Now, Real has, I guess, he had a concussion recently. I think it was about a month and a half ago. He was in concussion protocol. But he had a quiet night tonight. I don't think he did anything poor or anything outstanding. He was kind of just did his job. But Bueno came on, and I know he only played for about 10 minutes when Bedoya got hurt. But he looked aggressive. There was one
yeah,
sequence in particular towards the right of Matt Freese when Cincinnati was bouncing the ball back and forth, and all Bueno kept doing was just getting right in front of him, in front, and just
yeah.
position himself perfectly, basically solo, while Flock and whoever else was behind him. He did well. I thought he did well
Yeah.
in the brief time that he had. And did you notice anything particular from Bueno or from Matt Real tonight?
Um, obviously we didn't hear much from Matt Reals. We did the job.
No.
Didn't really have to do
Yeah.
anything. But again, obviously, I think that I mean, I've seen people discuss that, like the whole Matt Real not playing and Fontana not playing is due to the contract issues, or whatever's going on in that area. But I mean, I thought Bueno looked good when he came on. I think
Yeah.
Jim's obviously trying to edge a player like him in, as opposed to rushing him in this late in the season where he needs to get a climb. Jim's obviously echoed this so often, and Bueno needs to become acclimatized to the team, the way they play, the intensity, the work rate that they all show. So again, I think he's edging him in slowly and nicely for the position that he plays in, which is obviously quite an intense one in front of the back four, having to work from side to side and everything. So I mean, I think he's getting there. Again, I mean, he could end up playing extended minutes in the playoffs. He could end up starting the game. I think it's against who is it next Saturday? Montreal against Montreal.
Montreal, 1 o'clock, I believe it is. I'm pulling up the schedule
Saturday,
right
yeah.
now as you mentioned that.
So yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I think he could get minutes against Montreal if
Yeah.
Bedoya is injured. He might end up starting the game, maybe get 45 minutes to an hour. And again, it's just slowly edging him in. And I want to segue this onto Darbo here, and I know everyone's getting frustrated, like, where's Darbo? He's not playing. But is he actually good enough to play? I mean, I know we're not sitting there, and I know we haven't actually seen him play, but obviously Jim Curtin and his staff sit there and watch him in training every single day, and the fact he can't get anywhere near the starting 11, and he's sometimes not even in the squad, is he good enough to actually play for this team?
I don't know. That's the thing is that you think in particular, like we saw this, we kind of had this issue with Orvik when he was on the bench. You'd be like, when is he going to
Yeah,
come on? Okay, they're down two men, or his position's got someone got injured in his position. When are we going to see him? And he just never comes on. And you just assume that he was in the doghouse for whatever reason it was. I don't know what I thought when Santos went down. I thought absolutely we're about to see Davo come on, and instead
yeah,
you bring in Sullivan. That proved to be a fine decision by Jim. Um, I just don't know what more he has to do. Maybe he's not
no,
understanding the system well enough. Maybe he's not in good enough condition. I couldn't tell you why he's not showing up. I mean, he's on the bench. I mean, granted tonight he was on the bench out of necessity, not really because of his quality and training, but he's been on the bench in regular matches as well. So it's not like Jim isn't giving him the chance to be on the in the lineup. He's
yeah,
just not seeing the field. And I thought tonight was a chance. And I guess maybe if Harris didn't score that late goal, maybe you would have seen him because you would have been fine with having an offensive player out there rather than bringing on someone like Bueno.
yeah,
But you have a lot of question marks as to when or where you're going to see him. And with Burke and maybe Santos out, Casper can't do it by himself. And let's
no,
say Santos is out and Burke is out next week, right? Are you going to put Gazdag as a forward, or are you going to put Davo?
yeah. That's the
Because
issue,
if
isn't
you
it?
put Gazdag up there, then that kind of shows you then he's probably not
Yeah, or
not
Sullivan or
or
Quinn.
Sullivan
Yeah,
or even
that's the issue.
Fontana, the
Yeah,
the lost man of the Union, Anthony Fontana.
exactly. That's what I mean. Like we'll see next week whether he's actually. I mean, I know he's on loan, so clearly I think Jim's obviously seen him and sort of thought, well, there's obviously no point of me sort of integrating him in the team if we don't think he's good enough. And bear in mind, he's probably got like 6 or 7 games left, maybe. But yeah, it's not like. But again, it's just I don't know, explain that. It's a weird situation, really. Obviously, with the player like Kim, with a lot of excitement and hype coming in, and the fact that he come from Brazil, he was going to offer some pace and excitement, but clearly it's a deal that hasn't, it's a loan that hasn't worked out really. Whether it's because Jim doesn't think he's good enough, perhaps whether he's not adjusted to sort of all the conditions enough, or whatever. But they're sort of baffling that there was so much excitement around the signing and nothing's really
Yep.
come of it.
No, I agree, but you know what? Curtin, like as you mentioned, he kind of sticks to his guns. He sticks to the guys he's most comfortable with. He goes with what's familiar. Even Bedoya, to a fault, he'll play him like 90 minutes when he really shouldn't be playing 90 minutes.
Yeah,
So that may go to Jim more than anything else. But regardless, I don't want to bring the mood down too much because we are so excited for this 2-1 win.
yeah,
And
huge
I
one.
just looked at the scores tonight. Red Bulls played Miami. The Rebels won 1-0 against Miami, so that pushes Miami to 11th place with 32 points. I mean, they're well out of the picture at this point.
Yeah,
The Red Bulls are at 37 points, so they find themselves only 3 back from 7th place Montreal. And then the Philadelphia Union, Dave, Philadelphia Union are 5 points back from Nashville. So
I think
they
it's two
play.
now.
Oh yes, you're right. It is 2 now because the my freaking timeline hasn't changed yet. Because why would ESPN update a Major League Soccer page? You're right. So they're 2 points behind Nashville. So that means when they play Nashville in, was it a week and a half? I'm trying to pull the schedule now. They play Montreal, Minnesota, Nashville, October 23rd at 7:30 on a Saturday. That match could be for second place because you only have 3 matches after that.
Yeah,
So think about where they were 3, 4 matches ago compared to where they are. And they now have a chance to be the second place team in the East if they continue this run. And this
yeah.
run continues in Montreal next Saturday at 1 p.m. You have this high after this match. What are you looking from them next week? What is a satisfying result for you in
Well,
Montreal?
they've got to win. They have to win. I think there's no other real excuse around it. They have to win. They have to keep up this good run of form that they've gone on. And again, now the expectations for these starting guys that have gone off on international duty and gone to play for their countries to come back and you know keep setting the standard, because the young guys and everyone that came in tonight did their job. Again, they set a very good standard, and they came in and got a big 3 points I mean, I know Cincinnati are probably one of the more lesser teams in the league. No disrespect to them. I mean, they are literally bottom of the Eastern Conference, but like they're one of the lesser
Yep.
teams in the league. They're a team that's literally just got a new GM. So again, it's not like they now have something to fight for. They have They have another person to impress. They need to prove a point.
To former
And
Union Chris Albright right there.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, to a former sort of Union front office guy who obviously helped build what we've got here, what we
Yeah.
have in Philly right now. But I mean, again, they had things to play for tonight, and again, um, there were no mugs, and again, these young guys came in and they performed well. They put themselves about, and sort of these guys who are on the fringes, who are on the cusp of the starting lineup, they showed why they should be in it. Players like Jackman Glenn, Paxton Harrison, they showed why they should be playing. Quinn Sullivan, Stuart Finley, they showed why they should be in this starting lineup week in, week out tonight, or why they should
Yeah.
start against Montreal. Now it's up for these guys who've been on this national duty: Olivier Bizo, Kai Wagner, who's come back from suspension, Andre Blake, um, Jose Martinez, all these sort of other players, Jamiro Montero, Daniel Gazdag. It's now up to them to come back and to show these guys, and they've got to then back up what these guys have done this week and say, okay, you guys have done that, but we're also capable of doing that as well. Because if they go into Montreal
And
and if they drop a shit performance in Montreal, and
yeah,
then I know obviously we're
Minnesota.
living off the high tonight. We're living off the
Yeah.
high tonight. That then brings the mood down, because you think, okay, we've gone back to that issue against New England, where obviously it was a proper game with two halves, where we had a similar lineup like tonight out against New England in New England when Paxton scored his first goal, and then at halftime, Jim brought in three. Jim sort of made 5 changes, and he brought in all these first team starters. Took out Santos and put Shabirko in and put Gazdag into the game and stuff. And the team just looked lost. It just died. All the momentum, all the attacking excitement they had just died out. They need
Hmm.
to avoid that next Saturday, because if they end up dropping
Yeah.
that sort of performance, fans are going to start to ask questions, and it's going to start. Obviously, Jim won't change it, but then that's going to sort of create some uneasiness about things.
And it goes to how the Union used to play a few years ago. You would come off a huge high and you just fall flat on a trap game. And this is exactly that. You have a team
Yeah,
that is at the seventh place in the East who is fighting for a playoff spot, but yet you're still better than them overall. This is a game that you lose back 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah, I thought after all this, I thought after the Columbus game, Orlando, all these successful matches we've had, I thought, okay, when is the trap game going to happen? When are they going to fall? And they just haven't yet.
no,
So they have. Let me see. They have, what was it, 5 matches left? They have one, two, three, four, five, six. They have 6 matches left. You're playing a team fighting for a playoff spot in each match except for Toronto and Cincinnati. So that's 4 of
yeah,
this next 6 matches you're playing against a a playoff contending team, I guess you could say. If you're going to have a trap game, it's going to be Toronto, because
yeah,
you could win against Nashville to put you into second place, and then you play against Toronto in Toronto and you lose, and now you're back down to third. So
yeah,
it's the schedule's tough. You're waiting for it to happen. Maybe it won't happen. Maybe the Union are just, they finally figured it out and they're putting it all together. And I think one of the biggest questions that we had entering the season, and one of the biggest concerns we had halfway through the year, was the bench depth. I,
yeah,
I think for a lot of people, they thought, oh, the kids just had a lot of energy. They played well today. We've seen this now from them multiple times, where we can trust players like McGlynn and Quinn. I mean, now that you've seen a full season of this roster, do you think they're deep enough to make a playoff run? I mean, do you believe
I
in
think
these
so.
kids
Yeah,
enough compared to what we did back in May or
yeah,
April?
I think so. I mean, they proved it tonight. They've proven it against New England, who are obviously head and shoulders the best team in the league at the moment. Okay, the Union end up losing that game 1-0. I think it was 1-0, wasn't it? When before their Club
Yeah, at
America
home.
game. Yeah,
Hmm.
home, yeah. again, the kids, a lot of the kids played then. I mean, Sullivan etc. played then, and they put and I obviously I was never to watch the game because I traveling or whatever, and obviously work and stuff. But
Yeah.
from the way that you told, the way that you spoke about the game, and the way that other people were speaking about the game, they put themselves about. They competed against one of the
Right.
best teams in the MLS, and they actually gave it a good go and came and were perhaps unlucky to lose the game. So again, it's not they're no what's the word? They're ready. I think they are ready. And
They're
if
ready.
you
Yeah.
when they come into a big game, in the playoffs tonight, you've shown that you can trust Paxton Harrison to come in and make an impact. Quinn Sullivan can come in and make an impact. These younger guys can come in, and we've seen it on countless occasions. Jackman Glenn can pick the perfect pass, can find the perfect cross to create a chance. You've got these younger guys, and again, I'm confident that they've whether they go out there and win it. I don't think they're perhaps the Union are perhaps good or strong enough to win the entire MLS uh, Open Cup. But again,
I don't think they have the goal scoring. Yeah.
no. But again, who'd have said that Columbus Crew would have won the entire thing last year? So I mean,
It's true.
who knows? I mean, if they end up, they could end up getting a favourable sort of run in. New England could lose their could do what the Union did and lose their first their first playoff match. Nashville could lose their first playoff match. Who knows? And that could then open up the schedule for the Union to have a nicer run into the final.
That's
But
right.
again, who knows?
And right now, what we didn't think was possible a couple weeks ago is now a reality. You could host playoff games, at
Yeah,
least two playoff games. That's a massive, considering where you were such a short time ago, and considering how tough it is to play in
yeah,
Nashville and how tough it is to play in NYCFC because they play in the fucking shoebox that is
yeah,
Yankee Stadium. So it's it's huge. I think what you said perfectly was they're ready. We were cautious about it early on. We've seen glimpses, we've seen pieces, we've seen the puzzle has been slowly put together, and I think tonight was the stamp of approval. These kids are
yeah,
ready to go, and you're going into the playoff push with a very deep squad now. You have one, let's say Paxton, Quinn, McGlynn, Bueno. You could put him into the conversation. You
yeah.
have Burke when he's healthy. You have a
Harriel.
Harriel now. Finley even playing
Yeah,
solid back there. You now have a very large collection of players to choose from when it comes to your depth, and you're not just relying on El now to just make magic
yeah,
happen. You have multiple pieces who can play multiple
yeah,
positions, and you can move the formation around accordingly to fit their needs. So I think if anything, tonight gave you the confidence in the bench more than
yeah.
anything. And if Alvis Powell, how can I forget Alvis
Yeah,
Powell?
Elvis
How great
Powell.
he's been defensively.
And even like the afterthought outcast players like Matt Real and Anthony Fontana, they're good enough to come in and do a decent job.
Yeah,
Obviously, going.
yeah,
Oh, sorry, it's going to say going to your point
no,
about Senior.
mhm.
Is this probably should this be his last year in the Union shirt or
I
as
think he's
sort of
done it. Yeah,
yeah,
I don't think he should see the field again this year, and not because of
yeah,
anything against him. I just don't. I don't think. I think his spot has been taken.
yeah,
It sucks when an injury allows for a significant player to lose their role, but who do
yeah.
you take out of the lineup
Oh no,
if
yeah. Or
Ilsinho's healthy? Yeah,
even the bench rotation if you're going to make a change, or whatever. Like, I mean, he's not the player he was 3 or 4 years ago, where he was a bit
no,
more electric. Uh, when I watch him on the ball now, it was the same last year. I don't think he was that great last season when
no,
he
he
did
wasn't.
play.
Fontana was the super sub last year. If you're
Yeah,
gonna look at Ilsinho's prime, it was 2 years ago, 2019, when he was the super sub of the MLS. Last
yeah,
year, teams figured him out. Anthony Fontana came in, filled that role. This year, you
yeah,
thought Fontana was going to be the man. He gets hurt. The kids come in, they fill that role. Ilsinho now is just too far down the pecking order to make a
yeah,
difference on this bench, like you mentioned. He's not gonna break the roster, especially with how well Paxton is playing,
yeah.
or Sullivan rather.
And again, I think it's interesting at the point that him and Bedoya are similar ages, or Senior and Bedoya. And I know we shit on Bedoya a lot and say, oh, he's struggling, he should be taken out of the game, whoever. But if you compare the two, you sort of see the durability that the two have shown. And the fact, I mean, Bedoya's obviously, some games he's obviously struggled with the pace of the game, but like, Bedoya is miles ahead of Ilsinho in terms of ability and in terms of like how, in terms of how, what's sort of the word? Sort of how they can deal with the pace and the quality of this league. Like now, I
Yep.
think Elsinio perhaps had one moment of magic this year when he did actually come on off the bench. But like when you sort of I don't know if perhaps I'm the only one, obviously, who isn't as nostalgic and in love with Il Senior, but like, when I see him come on, I don't go, "Ooh, Il Senior's coming on." So like, why is he coming on? You got Jackman Glenn, you got Quinn Sullivan, you got Paxton, who have got more energy in life than him, and he's just sort of like, when you watch him on the ball now, obviously, I don't want to dig out Il Senior too much, obviously, because he's uh, a very obviously one of the more loved players for the Union, but like, you just watch him on the ball, you just know he's going to lose the ball or it's just not going to work out. You sort of like just
Yeah.
give the ball and go. But again, yeah, I don't know. I think it sort of feels like it's sort of coming towards the end of the road for Senior. Maybe, uh,
You see the I no, I think you see the franchise maturing. I don't think it's a
yeah,
bad thing.
no,
I think you're seeing the turn in, just the changing of the guard. You have the older players like Bedoya, even what's it called, Blake, for example. He's only getting older. He's still playing at a high level, but
yeah,
he's still an aging player, and you see glimpses of Freeze come into the fold here. You see with Gaddis leaving, Mbaizo comes in. You see this team maturing and starting to transition to the next generation of players.
yeah,
It's the same way with the Eagles. You saw they struggled, they sucked, and then you saw the kind of the change where 2016, 2017 they started to take that next step. I
yeah,
think you're seeing now. I think you nailed it with Ilsinho. He's just no longer a viable part of this team anymore in terms of on the field.
yeah,
Locker room, sure. Culture, sure. But and again, it's just kind of how sports work. You have a player who just isn't cut out for it anymore. But I hope we see him at least one more time in a match, just to kind of
yeah.
have one last glimpse of him. I think he's earned it in some regard. So hopefully we can have a blowout and he can see the field. I don't even know if is he healthy
No, he's
yet.
still injured,
He's
still
still
hurt.
injured, so
Yeah,
they might keep him out for the year as is. But you know, a great win tonight, 2-1. You pull out I guess an upset you can call it on the road, and you
yeah.
have Montreal next Saturday at 1 p.m. This coming week we'll have an across the pitch episode, but it'll be I think was it going to be on Wednesday maybe
Yeah,
or
pre-recorded, a
okay.
pre-recorded episode to
We'll
release at
do a
some point. Yeah,
pre-recorded episode because the Eagles are playing the Bucks on Thursday, 8 o'clock, and there's no way we're going to compete with the Eagles against the Bucks. Or what?
no,
No, it's the Bucks, is it? Who is it?
yes, about yeah, yeah.
The Bucks. Okay. So we're gonna do a pre-recorded episode. We'll drop it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so you guys can watch it. But any early predictions against Montreal Day before we wrap up the show?
Uh, I mean, going off the last game and how frustrating that was, I mean, I don't know, it's a tough one. I mean, looking at Montreal's form though, it's been quite up and down, up and down. They beat, they got a massive win against Atlanta United last time out, which is obviously going to be huge in that run for the playoffs. I'm gonna say I'm gonna keep on brand. I'm gonna go 2-1 for. I'm gonna go 2-1 Union.
2-1. Okay. I think it'll be a tough match. I know Montreal can score. They've been playing decent. I'm gonna go with a 1-1 draw, and I think I'll be happy going back home with actually no going back home, going Minnesota. I'd be happy going Minnesota with a draw.
Yeah,
The schedule's so weird because well, I don't know why we're playing Minnesota
yeah,
at the end of the season, but that's not
yeah.
my it's not my job to make that schedule.
Actually, I was going to say, like, looking at obviously we were discussing the playoffs just now. Obviously, hosting the home playoff game. As it stands, Union will be hosting NYCFC at Subaru Park,
Oh, yes,
and
they would
then
because they're in third and they're in
yeah,
sixth. Yep.
then the big issue is that then have to travel to New England in the second round,
Yeah, that would yeah because they're in.
unless
Yes, you're
Nashville,
right.
yeah, unless
No,
Nashville
wait,
get
no.
eliminated.
They're not gonna play. Because
Yeah,
New
they
England would have the bye. That's right. You're
New
right.
England
Yes.
guys, unless Nashville get eliminated. So yeah, I mean, at the moment, obviously, looking at sort of the opposition that you come up, and again, I think that perhaps if the Union can get 4 points, perhaps out of their next couple of games,
Oh, that's. I think
that
that's. I
then
think what you're looking for. Yeah.
that then puts the exclamation mark on that Nashville game and how big it could be. Because I mean, if you're 3 points behind
Mhm.
Nashville or a couple of points behind Nashville with um, a few games to go, I mean, like that puts the pressure on. They got to go to DC United. They got to play Columbus. Then they play Philly. And then again, they got a huge road game against Orlando City as well. So it's, again, their final run in on the schedules. No easy walk in the park either. So I mean,
It's the Eastern Conference is going to come down to the wire.
yeah,
It sucks that we have to play in NYCFC to finish the season because I hate playing
yeah.
there for one.
Well,
But that game could have huge implications on being second or third or even fourth. I
yeah,
mean, fourth place is is Orlando City. They're only 3 points behind us,
No,
so
yeah.
it could be massive.
I was going to say, I mean, again, I mean, playing NYCF, I mean, it's not a good omen to be playing the same team back to back games.
No.
Obviously, as we found out last year when they played New
Yeah.
England to close out the regular season. So hopefully, I mean, out of the teams, obviously, don't want to disrespect them, New York Red Bulls, but at the moment they're lagging behind everyone else. But I mean, you've got Atlanta United, Montreal, NYCFC, and DC United. Out of those sort of four teams, well, track New York Red Bulls in there as well. Out of those five teams, if the Union were to come third, sort of who are the team that you're hoping sort of lands in that sixth spot?
But who would be basically who we would host at a playoff game?
Yeah, who would you rather host in the
Oh,
first round?
I think. God, I don't know. All these teams scare me because
Yeah,
of what we've seen from them so far. I thought we got lucky against NYCFC in
yeah,
Chester. Um, I wouldn't mind another crack at DC United. I think overall we're the better team. I think we just had a shitty performance against them, but I feel confident against them.
yeah. That's what
But
I'll say.
I think end of the day, I would not mind seeing Orlando City. I think we can do well against Orlando City.
Yeah,
Um, Even when we lost to them earlier the year, I thought we weren't in the best form. We were in Florida, and we still made it a close match. I think if we get them, I think we should be okay.
yeah. That's what I think. Yeah, I just said like one of those teams, or I mean, even Montreal. I think Montreal could easily be on those games, but I think again, it's obviously going to be very difficult, irrespective of who we played. We saw last year. I think we all sat there and just thought, okay, New England extended playoff format, no problem, no issues. New England came in and
And they made a run to the playoffs too. They
yeah,
didn't just lose after they played us. They actually made a good run.
yeah, yeah. That's what I
Um,
mean. Like they didn't come to Philly and just roll over. They came in and they went for it, which I mean, fair enough.
yep, yep. But all right, we're gonna wrap up the show. I think with some sponsors. Dave, a great win tonight.
Yep.
So let's get paid now by our lovely sponsors here. Let's see. First up, we have Manscaped. Let me get this little banner working here. There we go. Now I put my notes up. Okay, Manscaped. Here we go. Manscaped, you get 20% off free shipping using code AATBirds. It's a great shaving tool. I know they have the Lawnmower 4.0, which is a big hit. So Manscaped at manscaped.com. Save 20% off with the shipping code AATBirds. Next up, we have Statement Games. Statement Games is a fun, fresh new look at fantasy sports. Sign up at statementgames.com. You can see the link there right below. A really, really cool way to expand your gambling horizons here. Odds Jam is the next one we have here. Oddsjam.com. They use an arbitrage calculator so that we never lose another bet again. So please check out oddsjam.com. And again, the link is right there for you. And then the following sponsor we have is one of our new ones. We have La Terrain Watches, assortment of some wonderful watches you can go browse at your free time. Use AAT Birds for 10% off at checkout at lawterrain.com. And last but not least, we have aatsportsnetwork.com/shop, where you can get all of our gear, all of our merchandise, Barreras Bucket, Burning Bridges across the pitch, the weekly show, I think might have some stuff, and then you have Chips and Dish and their awesome gear as well. So please check out the site shop. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Dave and I are on Twitter more than we probably should be, but we're there, and you can follow us.
Yeah.
Everything Union. But besides that, it was an excellent, excellent way to end the night.
Yeah.
And a good kind of teaser of sports vibe before tomorrow's big Eagles matchup. So hopefully the
Huge. Yeah.
Philadelphia Eagles can push this Philadelphia fan base up a bit entering Monday morning. So
100%.
appreciate Dave. Any last words before we sign off?
Nothing really apart from go Union and fly
Go
Eagles fly.
Union. There you go, guys.